You don't mind being called a radical.
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do. I'm sorry.
You mind being called a radical?
But there are.
I'm a radical.
I don't understand why you're so defensive, Rush. What's wrong?
Because I take my business as seriously as you take yours. And the term radical implies irresponsible. It implies dangerous and all this.
Only to you.
From 1990, that's Crossfire with the younger Rush Limbaugh making his case as a guest. Tonight, the great news is that he's not back on Crossfire. He's too old and too boring. Instead, CNN is bringing back the Crossfire format with 4 incredible new co-hosts, and we have them all together here for the first time. Van Jones, Stephanie Cutter, Newt Gingrich, and S.E. Cupp. Welcome to you all. And for the first time, may I say, welcome Crossfire. This should be very lively. We're going to have a little taster of it tonight. Let's get straight into this. Newt Gingrich, you must be absolutely thrilled at the Supreme Court's decisions today.
Well, I was thrilled that you're missing the core point that 8 million Californians voted a particular way. Their governor and their attorney general refused to defend them. And as a result, the court didn't actually decide the substance of the case. David Boies was quite clear. The court said, there's nobody here who has standing to defend the case, therefore the case is remitted because of that, or remanded because of that. It strikes me that the 8 million people in California have a pretty good reason to be a little more alienated from Washington than they were yesterday.
Let me ask you just very quickly, before I go to the rest of the panel, why are you so opposed to gay people having the same rights to get married as you? I mean, why? On a human level.
First of all, I'm not opposed to gay people having a right to have a relationship.
To get married, I said.
Look, much like Cardinal Dolan, who you were dissing, I actually do believe as a Christian the marriage is between a man and a woman.
Cardinal Dolan described it as a tragedy for America. And a tragedy? A tragedy that 2 loving people of the same sex can get married just like you and me? That's a tragedy for America?
I think if you want to reject the right of the Catholic bishops collectively, not just Dolan, to actually stand up for their values, and you want to say and you want to trivialize them, that's your right. But in fact, I do believe states are making arrangements. What I object to in this case is very clear-cut. You had a 5-4 decision to reject 8 million Californians on the grounds that 8 million people have no standing before the Supreme Court. That's a huge mistake.
I hear that. I hear that. Let's go to Van Jones. You look like you want to get in there. Is this a tragedy for America, Van?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, as a Christian, if you're concerned about traditional marriage, Kim Kardashian has done more harm to traditional marriage than any gay person. The institution of marriage has been falling apart because heterosexuals have been screwing it up. We're the ones getting divorced. We're the ones cheating. We're the ones who are shacking up. The people who brought the dignity and the honor back to the institution are the lesbian and gay community. And the problem that we have now is, just because you put something on the ballot, if you had put on the ballot civil rights in 1950, we wouldn't have had them. The courts have a job to do to protect people. I'm glad they did the job.
Okay, S.E. Cupp, this is quite startling. I think you're going to agree with Van Jones.
Well, when it comes to Prop 8, I agree with Newt. It's a rejection of the voices of the people, and that's a shame. I am a conservative who happens to support gay rights. I'm a conservative who supports marriage. I'm a conservative who supports gay marriage. So on DOMA, I think there was a victory. But to me, the significant ruling in DOMA wasn't just that the federal government has to acknowledge the right of gay people to marry, but that the federal government has to acknowledge the right of the states. As a small government conservative who supports federalism, I think this was a huge victory for federalism. And if you believe in small government and conservatism with a C, then you have to see that as at least a silver lining.
Okay, Stephanie Cutter, you're putting a face like you've either eaten a very, very, very bad onion, or you don't agree with that.
No, not an onion. I was just waiting to speak. You know, I don't think it's a surprise where I stand. I am very happy about the Supreme Court's decision today on DOMA. A lot of us have been against DOMA for a long time and have been fighting to overturn it. In terms of the decision on California, you know, yes, 8 million people voted for a ballot initiative. But as Van said, people have voted before and they've been wrong. That's why we have checks and balances in our government. We have 3 branches of government. And the courts perform a check on the people and vice versa. And I think that today, you know, there was a check on ensuring that people have equality in California. And I think that's why, you know, what we saw in the background of Ted and David was a huge celebration. People in California are embracing this.
No, you've got a lot of happy Americans on this tragic day for America. Let's move on to Texas. Because Texas is fascinating to me right now, because you had this extraordinary scene last night with the Senator Wendy Davis doing this 13-hour filibuster. It didn't, in the end, quite work. She was 3 hours short. This is about the fact that Rick Perry and the others in Texas want to bring in some of the toughest abortion laws in America, which would effectively shut down many abortion clinics in Texas. What I liked about this, and I want to start with you, Newt Gingrich. Rick Perry said in a statement, Texans value life. That's what he said. This was his argument for bringing in these incredibly stringent abortion laws. This is the same Texas, unless I'm mistaken, that today celebrated its 500th execution
500.
since 1982.
500
executions as they value life. It also has some of the most lax gun laws, which have led to some of the most gun deaths in America. Again, I question how far this valuing life goes in Texas. Over to you, Newt. Explain to me.
Well, first of all, the total number of executions you cited for Texas in total over the years is about the same as the number of people killed in Chicago last year, with among the most restrictive gun laws in America. So, I mean, I think you're just draping a red herring. Second, this extreme bill you're talking about is based on when babies start to feel pain, which is a scientific fact. Babies at around 20 weeks clearly feel pain, and this is a bill which says that if you have not had an abortion by the 20th week, that you're now putting the baby through pain, and that's why they drew that particular line. I mean, you can decide you don't care about babies having pain and that the woman's right overrides that, but the bill is actually based on scientific studies of when babies start to feel pain.
Van, in you go.
Well, you know, part of the reason we want to have this show, Crossfire, is because the show, which we haven't talked about that much, is going to be a half-hour long, and we're going to only have one topic at a time, so we can actually get deep into this stuff. I think a lot of people do feel some ambivalence about the balance here between the fetus and the mother. What the problem you've got, though, in Texas is this railroading that's going on from the governor and this kind of abuse of his authority, and this new hero, this Senator Davis, has stood up. She stood on her feet for 11 hours, 13 hours. She is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and we aren't going to be able to talk about every issue in depth here, but I want to see people like her come on the show, your show, come on Crossfire, and let's talk about this.
I agree with that. But Essie, I'd rather right now hear the reaction of Essie Cupp. It looks like she's about to explode.
This lionizing of Wendy Davis, who is a politician and did what politicians are supposed to do, I think would make Susan B. Anthony and Frederick Douglass and Rosa Parks roll over in their graves. Our standards for what counts as a hero today have become so shockingly, pathetically low. Not to mention, Democrats used to want abortions to be safe, legal, and rare. This bill would introduce those safety precautions, which are common sense, healthy safety precautions. Democrats have lost their rational common sense on the issue of abortion, and the pendulum is going to swing back in the other direction as the majority of the country, who's in the middle on this issue, realizes these positions are extreme.
Okay, we're talking extreme positions. I'm going to... Yeah, Stephanie, last word to you. Make it brief, please.
Well, I think the pendulum has already swung, and it's been against Republicans have been putting these initiatives forward to restrict women's ability to make their own health care decisions. So if there's going to be any backlash, the backlash is going to be against Republicans. We've actually already seen that in one election. They're digging their hole again, and we'll probably see it in the next election.
Well, listen, I just want to say how excited I am about this Crossfire coming back. I think it's a great idea. I think you four are going to be fantastic, because actually I would like to have kept you on for longer tonight, and we can't. And that is a good sign. That means I'm going to watch Crossfire. And I think most people watching will thoroughly enjoy it, just to see Newt get wound up every night. I mean, that alone would be worth the entrance fee. So thank you all for coming on. Great to have you on first on this show. And come back again soon. Looking forward to Crossfire starting in the near future. Good to see you.